I wouldn't mind a long process because I'd like to see the whistleblower, who's a fraud. The whistleblower wrote a false report. And I really blew it up when I released the transcript of the call. And then Schiff gets up and I blew him up too, because he went up in front of Congress and he made a statement about what I said that was totally false. And then a long time after he made it, when he got caught, he said, that was parody. Now, Schiff is a crooked, he's a corrupt politician and a disgrace. And because of the fact he's in Congress, he's got immunity, so you can't do anything. But he went up there, you know that, he made a totally false statement. The whistleblower wrote a totally false statement. So it's a fraud. Then I say, where is the informer, the one that informed the whistleblower? You had an informer, he disappeared. You know why he disappeared? Because I released the transcript. Had I not released that transcript, we would have had an informer, we would have had another whistleblower. By the way, where's the second whistleblower? Remember that? We have a second whistleblower. We have breaking news. Look, not all of it, but much of the media is corrupt. These are bad people, they're sick people, and they're corrupt. And we're fighting the Democrats, and we're fighting a lot of the corrupt media. But I asked the corrupt media, where's the second whistleblower? Now, had I not had a transcript, I'm lucky we had this transcript, which, by the way, has now been verified by the lieutenant colonel, okay? He's another beauty. So where is all of the stuff that was gonna happen? Once I released it, and I released it quickly, but once I released it, all of a sudden, the second whistleblower disappeared. The first whistleblower, who was all set to testify, all of a sudden, he becomes this saint-like figure that they don't need him anymore. The one that everybody wanted to see, including Schiff, was the whistleblower. Once I released the text of what happened, the transcript, that was the end. Everybody disappeared. So now there's no informer, there's no second whistleblower, everybody's gone. And by the way, a guy like Sondland, nobody ever says it. He said very strongly that I said, I want nothing and no quid pro quo. Nobody says that. That's what he said. He said it in Congress. Nobody ever says that. So look, we're dealing with a lot of corrupt people. There was nothing done wrong. To use the power of impeachment on this nonsense is an embarrassment to this country.
On this episode of Just Informed Talk, we're going to take a look at the latest new Q posts. You guys are going to want to stick around to hear about these, where Q is going into detail about what is to come and who is going to be held accountable for all of the violations of the law that these former administrations are alleged to have made. We're going to take a deep dive into that. So you guys are going to want to stick around to check that out and ask yourself this one question. Do you really believe that these individuals should be above the law? So we're going to get into that and a whole lot more. Hi, I'm Craig, and welcome to another episode of Just Informed Talk. You guys know the drill. Thanks if you've done it. If you haven't, come here to the landing page, click the big red subscribe button, make sure you hit the bell for notifications so you get notified when these videos get posted. As always, we go over and check the Q board, and yes, we do have a whole set of new Q posts we're going to get into here today. So you guys are going to want to stick around and check out those. There's a lot of information we're going to cover, a lot of stuff that's very pertinent to what's happening today, and of course, going back and looking at previous Q posts, which are now coming true. So there's a lot to cover, and there's a lot for us to get into. Before I get into that, I always remind everybody, look, you know, they're trying to suppress this content. You know, some other creators on this platform get the benefit of, you know, ads and having their videos suggested and getting promoted to, you know, a wider audience. Not this channel here. This channel has been targeted for their suppression algorithms, which are the algorithms run by YouTube to suppress content, to keep it away from you, the viewer. And why are they doing that? Well, quite simply put, because we're effective at getting our message across, and that terrifies them. So instead of countering us with, you know, arguments or facts, you know, they just have to suppress us, censor us, and silence us. So your support by coming here, watching this video, share them on my social media, watch this video if you're scratching and go, what is QAnon and the Great Awakening? Share that on your social media. But your help actually keeps this channel going. And, you know, just to give you an example of how Orwellian it has become on this platform. There are other people on this platform who, have way less subscribers, get way more views. And it just seems to me completely indicative of the fact that I used to get a lot of views until they kept making these announcements about how they were tweaking their algorithm, changing their algorithm to suppress borderline content. And then they brag about how they reduced certain channels traffic by 70% in some cases. And I've seen the analytics on the back end. I know they're doing it actively to this channel. So these nightmarishly fascist authoritarians who run these major companies, these big tech companies, are actively trying to keep this content not only away from you, but keep it from growing, keep me from being able to make a living doing this. They're trying to actually punitively damage me and my channel. Why? Because I speak the truth. I don't violate any of their supposed rules. So they just make new rules and they just push the goalpost a little bit further in their favor so that they can come after people like me, people like me who have channels like this and others. So obviously, I only ask you to do this every time because it's important. Hit the share button. I mean, get this out there. And it's like this story I wanted to talk about really quickly. YouTube banning malicious insults against public officials who are members of a protected class. So, another example of how YouTube is changing the rules so that they can censor and delete more content that they disagree with or that goes against their globalist satanic agenda. And I only say that because, in my humble opinion, the things they promote are evil and satanic, and they are globalists, and they would love nothing more than to destroy the sovereignty of this nation, to replace it with some, globally run hegemony that's controlled by the Rothschilds and the House of Saud and George Soros, and then they, like good little lapdogs, Susan Wojcicki and the rest, can go, warm up to George Soros and he'll throw him a few million or a few billion here and there just to make sure that they delete and remove anyone who presents an opinion that's going against their narrative, their mainstream agenda, which is to impeach the President of the United States, remove our free speech rights, ban guns, ban hate speech, whatever that means, ban you from having the ability to think for yourself. That's where this all ends, right? And it's exactly like Drudge said before, it's the digital gulags. Now they just put you in these pretty little gilded cages where they say, oh, you're just on the borderline, so we're just going to censor your content by 70% and not recommend you and take away all your monetization and continue to try to push you off the platform, even though you're one of the people who helped make the platform what it is today. And I'm talking about many other people, not myself in particular there. But look, you can read this story. I'll leave a link to it. It explains the new rules that they're putting up at YouTube and how ridiculously absurd and asinine this all is. These people are the ones who are going to usher in, they're going to be the ones who usher in the destruction of this country if we let them. But we're not going to do that. We're going to stand in defiance to their oppression and suppression of content and censorship. And that's where you come in, share these, just get the word out. And I have to make this plea because it's getting worse and worse every day. They're suppressing the content. They're limiting its view or reach. They're limiting my views. And I mean, I could show you the analytics on the back end, but we just don't have enough time. Let's just get into the latest Q post because that's what you guys are here for, obviously. Thank you guys for coming here and subscribing and just helping out however you can. So the first Q post 3667, is where we're picking up after we left off last time on December 7th. It's December 14th is the latest new Q post going into the 15th. So here it is. First, there is an older Q post that Q points us to. That's not it. It is this one right here from August of 2018, Q post 2042, where Q explains, in detail, right, exactly how they set up these FISA abuses against people like Flynn, Page, Papadopoulos, and Manafort, how they illegally gamed the FISA court to go after these people in order to take down Trump, right? This is very integral to understanding exactly how everything came together and how they set up these people to be taken down so that they could put together this blockade. And I mean, it boils my blood as an American to see that we can identify exactly how they did it. We, the general public, know exactly what they did. They went in, they fraudulently presented evidence to the FISA court to obtain warrants to spy on individuals associated with the Trump campaign in order to find dirt on their political opponent and meddle in the 2016 election. But the fake news and all these idiots at wherever, YouTube, their thought police teams, and Twitter and Facebook all say, no, CNN is totally right. They're the authoritative source, even though they lie every day for a living. They just lie, lie, lie. They lie about everything. They don't talk about this, the truth behind how the system was abused, and how these individuals are the ones who think they're above the law. It is not President Trump. President Trump, if anything, is trying to hold others accountable for breaking the law. And now they're grasping for strings with this whole Ukraine hoax and how President Trump, had a conversation with Ukrainians. Joe Biden bragged on TV at the Council of Foreign Relations about how he committed a quid pro quo extortion of the Ukrainian government in order to get the prosecutor fired who was investigating his son and the corrupt company he was working for. So it's a laugh. It's laughable, the whole thing. Q says, fake. Sometimes silence is necessary in order to protect select public releases. B2, Bill Barr. Public statements past week. Durham public statements past week. Durham start. Q start. Did you learn 4 FISAs last week regarding President Trump? Non-public prior. Cruz FISA public soon. Q. So, some interesting things. I can't wait to see, first of all, how the fake news explains away the fact that they were going after Ted Cruz as well. Because I guess Ted Cruz is now a Russian agent as well. I mean, this is getting into the realm of absurdity, but that's where they like it to be, because that is where they do the best, in the realm of just complete fantasy and make-believe. So this is what they're saying, and what Q is saying here is, I read to you guys in the last video, the public statement put out by Bill Barr's office and the public statement put out by John Durham's office, in basically stating that they support the findings of the Inspector General, but believe that the conclusions were not accurate and that there was actual abuse and crime that was committed. Basically, I mean, in a nutshell, I'm summing it up. And it says Durham start. The same day Q started posting, October 28, 2017, was the exact same day, you guessed it, Jeff Sessions appointed John Durham to head up these investigations and to become the U.S. attorney there, who's in charge of that. So, yes, we did learn about the 4 FISA abuses last week, I should say, where it was Flynn, Papadopoulos, Manafort, and Page. And we know about all that. So this is all just coming, and it's continuing to solidify what we're learning here. And it's just more proofs of Q, in my opinion. Q goes on in the next post. When a B-2 bomber is no longer stealth, think public statements made last week, what must that signal? Planned coordinated attacks on Barr coming, smear campaign, public opinion is important, information warfare, a traitor's justice, Q. So think about this. Q is giving us another prediction for the future. Probably a pretty easy one to make, but nonetheless a prediction for the future, that the media is now going to try to smear Barr because he's uncovered the truth. He's come out and said, look, I know through the investigations that I'm working on and the things I've seen that what they did to President Trump was illegal, that it was a form of campaign, it was a form of meddling in the 2016 election. It was an abuse of the FISA court, and it could be something even more criminal. We're yet to get into that. Well, now that the B2, that's the bomb. Durham and Barr dropped the bomb right on top of this impeachment Ukraine hoax, and it sucked all the oxygen out of the room. So now we get to see the fake news start doing their coordinated attacks on Barr, trying to smear his character and convince the American people that he is also now a Russian agent. I'm sure that's going to be the play. It's going to be Attorney General Barr. Is he just another Russian puppet stooge? Is he just playing favorites with the Kremlin and Trump over the noble and honest FBI that was investigating President Trump under James Comey? It's absurd. It's insane. But this is what Q is telling us. So it is an information war that I think nobody will ever understand how deep this is going to keep going. And we're going to get deep on it, I'm sure. The next one here, Anon writes, did you learn 4 FISAs last week? Quoting what Q just said. August 31st, 2018, Manafort, Page, Papadopoulos, Flynn. And then Q gives us this in response to that, this OIG website. It's a actual document. Now, this is if you guys know what this is a release from the DOJ or the Office of the Inspector General, excuse me, talking about the 4 FICE applications and other aspects of the FBI's illegal, in my opinion, abuse of their powers in doing this Operation Crossfire Hurricane, where they went to set up all of these key players in the Trump campaign for no other reason than to target President Trump, because they were predicating this whole thing. You can't forget, they predicated everything off of the fake and unverified information in the Steele dossier. That's how they kept getting the renewals for the FISA to go after President Trump. It was all garbage from the get-go. And they took that garbage and they used it to go after President Trump. And it's so obvious now, as we look back, it's explaining to us here in this document that was released just recently on December 9th, talking about these 4 FISA stuff that Q predicted, of course, and that is just continuing to come to fruition, if you will. Dates start will become important, is what Q says here. Now, what is that referring to? Obviously, it's talking about the fact here that the decision to open the FBI investigation on July 31st, 2016, known as Crossfire Hurricane, and 4 individual cases on the current and former members of the Trump campaign, George Papadopoulos, Carter Page, Manafort, and Flynn, the early investigative steps taken and whether the openings. This is what they're investigating now. This date, July 31st, 2016, that's an important date to remember. Think of what that date suggests, right? That this was a coordinated effort headed by the Obama FBI under Comey's direction going after President Trump. This was their insurance policy. They wanted to make sure that if in the small chance President Trump won, they would be able to take him down quickly and remove him from power. But it backfired on them because they really did. They never thought she would lose. They never thought in a million years Hillary Clinton would lose, and yet here we are. Going to the next one. This is a Twitter post from Illinois. I don't know if I'm saying that right. Anyway, I like this account. Lots of great information comes from here. But somebody was over on the 8kun boards and said, I'm on in 20, we'll say farce. And then right here you have Laura Ingraham opening her show saying the word farce. So what we say here, or what they say here, is we get a lot of interesting people posting Xanons. 21 minutes later, Laura Ingraham says farce on her show. Wow. Well, that's an interesting one. And then Q says scope and size far greater than you can imagine. Yes, the mainstream media, these people know. They all know about it. Jesse Waters just had a whole segment on it. They all know about QAnon. They know what this is. It's just their corporate overlords at Fox won't let them talk about it because they control that teleprompter so tightly that you barely can even say what you really want to say, I mean, in my opinion. And a lot of those people get pushback just for even talking half-truths. Or half of the truth, I should say, not half-truths. And that's where we're at. Next one here is a graphic that Q is pointing us to. It's hard to read, I know. Here, I got it a little bigger. But it was this other post where Q told us back in November of 2018 about the stealth bomber, right? And it gave us 8 spaces. And the Anons filled this in to say Whitaker, which at the time would have made sense. Of course, Whitaker is 8 letters. And there were 8 spaces, 8 dashes put here by Q. What also fits is Bill, B-I-L-L, Barr, B-A-R-R. So Bill Barr is B2, the stealth bomber, and what Q's saying here basically is that you need to fix the graphic is what Q's saying. Q gives us then this Twitter post right here from Doc Rock 1007. Shout out Doc Rock. But it's this clip of Bill Barr being interviewed. And what does he say? Bill Barr says this basically. He says there's 2 groups of people. There's people that come to me and say, why aren't the people who executed these crimes against the president in jail? And then there's another group of people that say Bill Barr should be in jail. And then he kind of sits back in his seat and kind of, puts his hands together and says, all I say is it takes time. These things take time. What he's saying is so important. That's the bomb that Bill Barr is dropping, that these people will go to prison, they will be held accountable, and they will be brought to justice. But it takes time. So with that, I thought I'd go there. Now, we'll hear what Q says. Q says, When does the B-2 drop the first bomb? Bill Barr fit into 8 spaces, reconfigure graphic, knowledge is power, Q. So we know who the stealth bomber is. It's Bill Barr, and we've known that for a little bit now. And the next one here is actually interesting. Back in December of 2018, Q told us about the fact that Huber was organizing these investigations into the Clinton Foundation, right? And how Rod Rosenstein was still overseeing the special counsel's investigation and saying that nobody is above the law. Then Q goes on to tell us right here, what if there's another prosecutor outside of D.C. assigned by Sessions with the same mandate authority, one for the history books, not long now, Q. So remember, we only knew about Huber as far as the Q boards go for a while. What is Huber doing? John Huber, the U.S. Attorney from Utah, has been conducting multiple investigations into the Clinton Foundation, and it's just come forward recently. We talked about this in one of the latest videos, that he is actually still investigating the Clinton Foundation, and still he's in it looks like a fact-finding period where he's still collecting evidence and still putting together a case against these people. So justice will come for these individuals. It just takes time, as Q has said, and I think that's something we all need to remember, is that we need patience in all of this. And yeah, I thought that was an interesting little reminder Q drops for us. Then, of course, month day Durham initiated, month day Q public campaign started. How many coincidences before mathematically impossible? It was over before it began, Q. Now, that's the most important phrase I've heard Q say all since the beginning, right? It was over before it began. We've had everything from the beginning. Don't forget military intelligence and the NSA. We have everything. We have the 30,000 deleted emails. We have all the servers and the information that was on them. We just can't publicly put it out there yet because it's all tied up in these ongoing investigations into these criminals who have tried to destroy this country and sell it out to the highest bidder to enrich themselves and to sell you, the American people, we, the American people, out to the highest bidder. And this ends with President Trump, and that's why they hate them. That's why they hate us. That's why they call us racist, and they make up all these lies about us and pretend that we're these evil people, when what we are is patriots who demand equality of law and justice, and for people to be held accountable for their crimes, and so that nobody is above the law. You know, their new line is, President Trump is nobody's above the law. These 3 guys think they're above the law, and there are many others just like them inside of our government who think they're above the law. And I got news for them. They ain't. And it ain't going to end well for them. Mark my words on that. Then the next one's an Anon putting a picture of John Durham up, and then Q says, what if other AG equivalents in foreign countries are also currently investigating use of their intel apparatus for illegal purposes? Was the chain of command followed? Huber, DOJ, Plains, Clinton Foundation, Q. So remember, there were stories about John Huber going after the Clinton Foundation, and then there were all these planes from the Department of Justice that were in the FBI that were going all over the place. I mean, Q told us, I think, some of the ones that were going to Arkansas weren't connected to the Clinton Foundation necessarily, but we've had people from the Department of Justice traveling across the world working with foreign governments to do what? To uncover these criminals who abused their powers inside of our country and inside of our intelligence community, especially with regard to the Five Eyes, which is Australia, Great Britain, New Zealand, the United States, and Canada. They abused that system to circumvent law in our country, and we have to get to the bottom of it. But then these other countries are going to get to the bottom of the corruption in their country as well. So that's what that's saying, I think. Clinton Foundation ain't going to be, it's going to be a big one when all this comes together. And Anon says, it's scary just how good you guys are. Yeah, kind of. Then Q posts this picture. I think this looks like somewhere in downtown, in a downtown area somewhere. But it says, Merry Q-Miss. So, yeah. I thought that was an interesting one. And then finally, these two here. And Anon says, and this is only the beginning. And Q posts this meme here with James Comey basically looking like a homeless guy on the side of the street saying, we never thought she'd lose. And that's basically what it's come down to at this point. And finally, we have this post here on Twitter, right, by a person known as @FollowQAnon. But it shows this clip of Adam Schiff going back to California, right, and getting basically screamed down by his constituency because his lies and crimes against this country are so obvious that even the people inside of his own constituency are starting to confront him on it, right? They're literally going to him and saying, "You're a liar. We know about the Standard Hotel. We know you're trying to push this fake impeachment against President Trump so that you can unseat a duly elected president and undo an election where 63 million people decided to put Donald Trump in that office, including the 306 electors in the Electoral College." So if you think about it, this is only going to get worse for these people. And like Q said, they won't be able to walk down the streets when this is all said and done. Why? Because they are criminals who betrayed our country, in my humble opinion, based on the evidence that I have seen, who need to be brought to justice, and they will be brought to justice. And the fact that they're still walking around, it really does feel like a slap in the face of all the law-abiding, patriotic men and women who love this country. But I think that we're all willing to give it at least enough time to say that, yes, if there are cases being built, we need them to be ironclad, and we don't want any of these people slipping by on technicalities. We want to catch them all at once, and for that, it has to be coordinated. And you know what? It's the old saying, you give somebody enough rope. You know what I mean? We're just giving them as much rope as they want, because eventually we know what that's going to end up doing to them in the long run. And so, you know, that's pretty much the latest for the Q post. Thank you for checking out this video. A few more things before we go. Watch these videos, share them on your social media, get the word out that way. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't. Leave your thoughts, theories, and insights below too. I want to hear what you guys have to think about everything that we talked about here on this video. Also, don't forget to go check out Brave Browser. If you guys haven't downloaded this and used it yet, you need to. It's a great product. It's the Brave Browser. It's free. There's a link in the description. Just go click the link in the description. Download the Brave Browser, install it on your computer, and run it like you would any other internet browser, just like Internet Explorer, Google Chrome, Mozilla Firefox, whatever you're using. It's just like that, but better. It blocks the ads, and it makes your internet experience that much better. Plus, it's got a built-in VPN and Tor browser, so there's a lot of benefits to this product. I use it myself. I'm encouraging you to check it out. If you use the link in the description to download it and install it and run it on your computer, that'll actually help this channel out too. So it's a win-win. You guys get a great free product, and then they'll make a contribution to this channel. So thank you for going and checking that out. You can also come find me over here at BitChute. I'm trying to build up the audience over here. Come subscribe to my channel on BitChute, bitchute.com/justinformedtalk. And I'll try to get all the videos up here. It's as soon as I get them up on YouTube, they come up over here too. So it's just a great place. If anything were to happen to the channel, that we'll be able to keep having this content and that you'll be able to come watch these videos. They'll be there, right? That's what's important. Also, you can come find me over here on Twitter at JustInformedU. That's a great way to connect and have a conversation outside the channel. Also, I have JustinformedNews.com, the official website for Just Informed Talk. Links to the Q stuff, different news sites, breaking news, and of course, the latest videos from the channel here. So go check out JustinformedNews.com. That helps out the channel big time. Also, a couple other ways you can help support the channel. You know, I talk about it, but it's true. YouTube, they take away the monetization. They've tried to put this channel out of business. They try to make it so that I can't afford to do this. And you guys stepping up to the plate and making this monthly contribution over here on Patreon is what has kept the channel going. I really could not have kept going without you. So, and your support. So come check out Patreon, patreon.com/justinformedtalk, and you can become a patron and make a monthly donation. It's monthly donation, set it and forget it. Now you're helping create content on this channel. Also, I have a GoFundMe set up if you want to make a one-time or anonymous donation. Links to all of that will be in the description, as well as to everything else we've talked about. Anything that we talked about here on the channel, there'll be a link to it in the description. So, before we go, we do a segment at the end of each one of these videos called God's Grace is Greater, because I like to make sure that we keep everything in perspective about what's really important. Yes, this is all very important to our country. These people who have committed these atrocious acts of betrayal, treason against us and our country, and really the whole world at large, if you think about it. These people will be held to account, but there's only one judgment that really truly matters, and that's the judgment from up on high. And God is watching all of us, and we need to know how we live a good life to just remain humble and strong and courageous patriots, but Christians first who put God above all else. And how do you do that? Well, I want to share this verse. It's a very quick verse out of James or chapter 5 verse 12. It just says this, and then we'll talk about it. It says, "Now above all, my brothers and sisters, do not swear either by heaven or by earth or with any other oath. Your yes must mean yes, and your no must be no, so that you won't fall under judgment." That's it. That's the simplest way to look at it. Your yes must be yes, and your no must be no, so you don't fall into judgment. What does that mean? Just means live a humble life. Be true to the words that you say and the actions that you do. I know that we're all going to make mistakes. We're all going to stumble along the path to our final redemption, our final eternal salvation that's there with Christ through the sacrifice made on the cross for our sins. But if you just remember to tell the truth and be honest and be righteous and live a life for God and follow the teachings that we have here in the Bible that show us how to become better men and women and how to follow the gospel and how to understand that there was this great gift that Christ gave us, and then there's this even greater calling that we're called to, as a part of that gift. And that's my message to you. Go out in the world and make a difference in a positive way. Do unto others and help those in need and live a righteous life and just put God first above all else, and be truthful in how you act and how you speak, because ultimately that's all that will end up mattering, right? And regardless of all these other people, we all know that those who don't repent and don't come to Christ and don't come to that realization and just diminish God or ignore him or act in evil ways, we know where they end up. They end up in the pit, as it says. But we have to live lives better. We have to live our lives with righteousness and integrity and honesty. And that's my challenge for you, just to be honest and loving and put God first above all else, and then let the Holy Spirit fill you to go out in the world and to spread that message to others. So that's my message to you. I want to say thank you for listening to this episode of Just Informed Talk. That's going to be it for me. Obviously, come here, click the subscribe button if you haven't. Hit it, punch it, tap it, bop it, twist it, elbow it. Hit the like button if you guys like this content and want to see me make more. That's going to be it for me. Thanks for watching this episode of Just Informed Talk. My name is Craig. Godspeed and God bless each and every one of you, Patriots.